You're watching This Week in Space with Miles O'Brien.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Space. I'm Miles O'Brien. No Bucks, no Buck Rogers. Our sources tell us NASA is no longer headed to the moon, or any place else beyond low Earth orbit, for that matter. After spending upwards of $9 billion to design two Ares rockets, the Orion space capsule and the Altair lunar lander, NASA is being told by the Obama White House to scrap the whole program. The vision for space exploration rolled out by George Bush 6 years ago this month was never funded properly and never gelled with the public. NASA will get a little more money in its budget, which is more than most federal agencies can say, for Earth Sciences, the International Space Station, and for the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services, or COTS program, which envisions privately operated rocket rides to the space station. But nowhere near the dollars needed to chart a course for manned exploration beyond low Earth orbit. It's grim news for those of us who care about manned exploration of space, much less those whose livelihood depends on it. We're joined now by John Karas. He is the VP and General Manager for Human Spaceflight for Lockheed Martin, the prime contractor for the Orion capsule. John, thanks for being with us on This Week in Space. With Commercial Orbital Transportation Services, COTS, becoming the push for the Obama administration, what becomes of Orion?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, I think on Orion, we're making really good progress, and the fact that we're really under contract to fly in 14, not 17 or 18, says that we have a large workforce. So we have like 3,000 people that are working on Orion now, and we've got over 73 companies, small companies and commercial companies already working on CEV. So I think that would obviously, if it was all commercial, then those jobs would be at risk, and those jobs are in Texas and Louisiana and Florida and in states that are very important, have large human space flight histories and heritages. So that's what's at risk. I think the other thing I think is at risk is safety. A lot of people have said that some of the commercials can meet the safety standards. Well, I got news for you. We put in a proposal that was safety compliant 3 years ago, and we've learned that there's certain other standards, interpretations, and analysis features that you've got to go meet. And so I think that's also at risk there a little bit too. So it all depends how what people define as going totally commercial or not, and if we want to go explore beyond LEO, that hopefully there's pieces of constellation, typically CEV, that'll survive.
Let's talk about risk for a minute. Last week we spoke with Elon Musk. He says he is building safety into every aspect of his Falcon rocket and his Dragon capsule. Do you doubt him when he says that?
No, I think to the best of his ability he can, with the best of the performance of the rocket he has to lift it. You know, for example, we have a launch abort system that is being ready for test in the next 60 days or so, and it weighs 16,000 pounds, and that's just more than the lift capability of his entire rocket system, or anybody's rocket system that's touting in the smaller, cheaper commercial arena. And so, you know, that just goes to show you that there are some robustness things and certain abort modes that we're incorporating and tolerating and designing for. So until those things get done, you really don't know. Likewise, one of the leading factors of safety in orbit is micrometeoroid protection, and we've got a couple thousand pounds of shell, if you will, around CEV that helps protect that. And that, again, is just about what his entire spacecraft or commercial spacecraft or anybody that wants to go enter that market is touting. So I have no doubt that he's trying to build in the best safety features he can within the money he has and the performance lift he has, or anybody has for that matter. So I think until you've done all the analysis, until you know what's safe enough, CEV and its launch vehicles that it's being designed to fly on are inherently more safe.
6 years after the vision for space exploration was announced, the program never really took hold in the public. It just kind of floundered along the way. As you look back on it, is there anything that you can say you would do differently now?
Boy, Miles, good question. I think that if the money wasn't cut early on, we would have made more progress, and we've already had a test flight or two underway. I think progress and the excitement helps keep it sold. I I think I think space leadership is exciting. I think staying in LEO, low Earth orbit, is not that exciting. So I think we actually slow down the most important part. I think that keeps people interested and keeps us a space leader. I also think that if the commercial or alternate methods of getting to LEO were more done in a step fashion to prove it first, get rockets flying first, see if they can do cargo, rather than an all or nothing mentality, I think that risk aspect also is a little hard for potential Congress and constituents to accept.
What is it that makes people in your business so skeptical of Elon Musk? He's got a lot of smart people working for him. Are they not able to do this safely, do you think?
Miles, I think having spent a lot of my time in commercial enterprises and have a startup, let's say, within Lockheed Martin, it's really hard. History says that 50% of all the new rockets have failures, and 50% of the second ones have failures, and 50% of the third ones have failures, and that's what happens. And then when you try to scale up, it's not much better. Look at the Japanese, the even EADS and Ariane with Ariane failures, and even Lockheed Martin early on when we were upgrading. And so it's hard business. So when certain folks make claims that their performance is going to be what it is, history says that's not what happens. All the flights are going to be successful. History says that's not what's going to happen. So I think over-promising is not good for anybody in the industry. And if you look at some of the early commercial or people trying to field rockets today, their success record in early flights hasn't been that good. And yet folks think the scale-up is going to be automatic. So I wish all those people a lot of luck. I got a lot of support when I was doing commercial, and we did a lot of things in a short period of time for very little money and flew with mission success. And it's just hard. And so there's a lot of lessons learned that I've learned throughout my career, too. And I just don't think we should let commercial writ large, meaning no NASA support, no large industry support, with all its lessons learned, forget about the history there. And so you have to remain a little skeptical. So I think history and recent history of folks bear that out. And so I think just a little bit of balance and evolutionary approaches are just a lot better. Faster, better, cheaper. It hasn't worked, in several times, and I wish them the best of luck. But I really think there's certain constraints that you have to go through first, like get a rocket to work first, and then see if your capsule can re-enter, and then do cargo, and then evolve. So we'll see. I just think history is not on his side.
It occurs to me that each day that goes by, that gap between the shuttle and whatever is next gets wider and wider. And it seems no matter who wins or loses these contracts, the American public loses out, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fits and starts of the space program, over the last 30 years, it's been shuttle all the time. We've had at least 10 different policies of NASA. If we would have stuck with one, we would have been flying and wouldn't be having this debate. And so I think the American public loses in general. I also think the nation loses its space superiority and space leadership. And I think it's kind of hard when you have agendas with the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians that want to go exploring beyond LEO with crew. I think, the way we're going, we're not going to be a leader like we're used to if we're not careful.
John Karas with Lockheed Martin, thanks for your time. Coming up, what goes round and round in the name of science? Some researchers who believe private suborbital space hops will be more than a thrill. They believe they will lead to some interesting science. The weighty details ahead.